Well, hello. My friend Sean Barna would really like some kind of vegetarian recipe on here, so we're gonna do one today. This is a recipe that my dad and I came up with when I was a kid. We had sorrel growing in our backyard, and we would make this soup with zucchini and leeks and sorrel. But at some point, I was away from home making it, and I decided to try it with spinach because I didn't have any sorrel, and I actually think it tastes a little better. Sorrel had an interesting sort of tart flavor, but I think the spinach tastes a little better, and I like the color a lot more. It's really pretty green soup. I like that. So there's very few ingredients to this. You need like 5 to 7 leeks, depending how big they are. 3.5 pounds of zucchini, like a bunch or two of spinach, some vegetable stock or chicken stock if you're not making it vegetarian, and some butter. That's pretty much it. And so we're gonna make it right now. Leek, zucchini, and spinach soup coming up. Step number 1, dealing with our leeks. Leeks are pretty simple, but should show you. So first thing you do with a leek, let's get this on the thing, is cut this end off. And then you're gonna go down to about here, you know, where the white stuff, it's a pale green, but you can use that. Just not into the dark green. I'd say maybe right here. And then cut that in half. These are the 2 halves you're gonna use. Now you wanna cut like a cross into it. There, there, and then make sure you offset your cross if you come down from the other end, because you don't want them to come in the same place or the thing will just fall apart. What this allows you to do is go to the sink and rinse them off by going like this, because leeks have a lot of grit inside them. So you want to, under the running water, fan them and make sure you get them really clean. You might even want to peel the outside layer off to get rid of it, any gunk that's underneath it. All right, when you've washed them, they should look like this. You know, they've been fanned out at this point. They've all been cleaned, gotten rid of all the grit. They'll look like this. All right, we've got 3.5 pounds or so of zucchini here. It's pretty simple with zucchini. I just cut off one end, cut off the other end, and then I'm gonna peel it. When you're peeling something like this, or a carrot or whatever, always peel the wide end first. If you peel the skinny end first, often it weakens it so much that when you go to peel the wide end, it just snaps in half, which is a pain in the ass. Now I've got Cuisinart with this blade, the cutting blade, chopping blade. You can also just chop these. It's just quicker because we're doing a bunch. You might have to do it in 2 batches. I could cut these in half too to make it easier, but maybe I will. Actually, no, I'm too lazy for that right now. I'm gonna pulse this a bit. Start there. The leek's cooking, so I'm just gonna get a medium to high heat on here and throw, I don't know, 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter in. You want to use a big pan for this. You definitely want a big pan because it's a lot of stuff going in. So you'll hear the butter foam and then sort of subside, and that's when it's ready. And you'll notice not all of them are completely chopped up. It really doesn't matter. They're going to get pureed again later. You just want them to be broken up enough to really cook. And this will do that. You want to watch them so they don't burn, but it's going to be about 10 minutes, probably. Until they're sort of real soft and translucent, like onions. So while those leeks are cooking, we can get to the zucchini. I've got the kind of slicing blade on now. This thing's really sharp. You gotta be careful with these. There. And you can also, of course, just slice these. But you can turn it on. Oh, it's not going to work that way, is it? Stick that down in there. Push the next one down. And then that's our zucchini sliced. Come on out of there. See, it's all sliced like that. Just throw the zucchini in there. And we're just going to stir it around a little bit. Zucchini does not need to be cooking very long in the saute. Just a few minutes. It's going to mostly simmer in here. But while we're doing that, I want to take a little bit of salt. Throw some salt in there and grind some pepper. And then just mix that around as well. And let it cook just for 2 or 3 minutes, 3 or 4, I don't know. A few minutes. It doesn't need to cook for very long. We're just kind of giving it a brief saute to kind of give it some flavor and some character. Okay, I ended up deciding that 5 minutes was a good amount for it. And it was about 30 seconds left. I turned the heat up all the way, maybe about a minute left, because I'm going to add the stock now. And you can do this with chicken stock, but it's perfectly good with vegetable stock. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm just using vegetable stock. This is 32 ounces right here. I think this is enough, but it might need double this. I can't remember. That might be enough, but I actually think it's probably not. Could use some more. Even if you don't end up keeping all of it, it's good for cooking it in. I need a little more liquid to cook this. So I've got my heat all the way up, and I'm putting 64 ounces, so a gallon of vegetable stock in here. Now, it depends how salted your stocks are. This is unsalted vegetable stock, so you definitely want some salt in here. But I've already put some in, so I'll leave it at that for now. And that little bit more I just added. I am not a big fan of adding all the salt at the end of things. I find that the salt cooks into things, and you can use a lot less salt to flavor something if you salt it early. Problem is, you can't come back from it. So, I don't know. I haven't been giving you good measurements on that either, so it's not really fair because I've been just throwing handfuls in. You might want to put a lid on this, because what you want to do is get it to boil and then lower the heat and simmer it for 25 minutes. So right now, okay, as you can see, it's starting to boil, so I'm going to lower the heat and just get it to simmer for a while. I'm going to set a timer once you get it to the simmer for 25 minutes. Okay. The stuff is simmering. We're going to devein the spinach. Spinach has got this big vein down the middle of it. You want to try and devein it. You can do that by folding it sometimes, and it'll pull right out. Or you hold it down, you can do that way. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can also just do it by, peeling the leaf away from the side. The thing is that the big vein in the middle, which is perfectly good when you're just eating spinach, gets a little bitter in soup. And it will impart kind of a bitter flavor to your soup, which you don't really need or want. Let me throw that part out. So you got thought of another thing that would go really well with this meal, and that is that Elise winery. It is the Pinot Blanc. Sorry, that is so freaking good. It's just a wine that we usually use to balance out things in our Chardonnay, but the crop was so good this year that we made barrels of it alone and bottled it, and it's something we almost never do, and it's not a wine I'd ever tasted before. I just had never had it. I think people mostly use it to balance out their Chardonnays, but it's spectacular. Yes, I am pumping my own winery here. But we're really proud of that Pinot Blanc. It's just incredible. I have to find things to talk about because I feel like I'm going to spend my life deveining this spinach. It just takes forever. It's not really, it's been 10 minutes, but I'm ready to jump out a window. So, it's pretty much where we want it. I'm going to take all the spinach now and just toss it in here. I actually, after I was done deveining it, I went and washed it again. It still felt a little gritty to me. You know, it came off a farm today, so you know, it's understandable. It's not as rinsed as the stuff in the supermarket. So I gave it another rinse and dry. And you want to take it and just lower the heat back down a little bit more now, and just fold it into the soup. Just gonna fold it in and let it just cook for another 5 minutes. So cooking's done. What I want to do now is just use a slotted spoon, scoop out some into the Cuisinart with the sharp blade again, the chopping blade. 2 or 3 of these. Just like that. You can use a ladle too. Just gonna put 2 or 3 in here because you don't want too much liquid at any one time. Top on it. Pulse it. I've got this nice green, pleasant looking soup, which you can see looks like that. So I'm just going to transfer that to this pot. You want to do it in small batches because if it gets too much liquid in there at any one time, it won't chop things up. They'll just spin around in there. Okay, so the blade back on, and then we'll just do it again. Okay, so at some point you're going to have gotten most of the solids out of there. It'll be very little. I mean, there's going to be a lot of little pieces of leek because you shredded it up that are still in there, and there's the broth. But you've got your soup that looks like this. It's a nice green puree. But you can just put the rest of this in here too, or as much as you want. You can keep adding liquid and seeing how much you want. It's not really diluting it because all this liquid actually has the flavor because it's the broth. So I'll tell you what I'm actually gonna do. I'm just gonna dump all of it in to the soup. So I'm putting it all in there. So it may not have the same color once I stir it up. Oh, I need something to stir this up with. Here. But it will be more flavorful probably because the broth isn't diluting it. That broth has all the flavor because the stuff's been cooking into that broth. All the onion, the sweet onion flavor. So here's your soup. It's pretty beautiful. Shit, it tastes so good. It's great with, like I said, crusty bread and butter. It's fantastic. It's good hot. It's also really good cold, like a gazpacho. So you can. It's great for summer. It's great for winter as warm soup. It's great for summer as cold afternoon soup. It's just good either way, and it's completely vegetarian. So that's our soup: leek, spinach, and zucchini.